everyone, and welcome to this Zest episode with me, Shel, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, it's an absolute honor to welcome Rachel, an award-winning gut health coach who helps women 40 plus reclaim their energy, glow from the inside out, and finally feel at home in their bodies. Through her VIP 6-month Glow coaching program and advanced food intolerance testing, Rachel guides women back to break free from bloating, hormonal chaos, and energy crashes, empowering them to feel confident, strong, and balanced every single day. This sounds like something I am definitely excited to find out more about. We will explore how understanding your body at its root can transform your energy, your mindset, and your life. Who would not want more of that? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Shel. It's lovely to be here with you today.
You're so welcome.
Chatting all things gut health and women's health. I think it's a conversation that needs more attention and long overdue.
100%. And one thing that's just straight away coming to my mind, is there a particular reason why, is there a particular reason in our bodies that why you concentrate on 40 plus, or is it just, I just wonder where that came from.
Yeah, no, there is actually, and 40 is around the key time when women start to really notice changes in their body. It can happen anywhere really from 35 plus. That's when we start to experience changes in our digestion and our gut health. And for some women, they may notice that their digestion speeds up so that they feel that their meals are going through them a bit more quickly, they're going to the bathroom a bit more frequently. And then for others, it can slow down. So for their first time in their lives, they could be suffering from constipation. They could be having skin breakouts again. They could have issues with their energy, their sleep. And while that's hormonal changes, it's also coming from the gut as well. And as I say, those changes, they usually start from the age of 35. And by the time women get to 40, they start, when they look in the mirror, they're thinking, I look a bit different now. I feel a bit different. What I did in my 20s and 30s in terms of keeping fit and healthy is no longer working. And they just find themselves quite frustrated, and there's not an awful lot of information about how these changes occur in the body. So that's why I work with women from 20 to 70, and men too as well, but I like to support that age group of 40 plus. Because I'm in that category now myself, and I went through that period of change as well, where I noticed changes in my body, but I couldn't really put my finger on what was happening, why it was happening, and what to do about it as well. I didn't find the information out there, so I had to go and retrain and study in this to be able to support myself first of all, and then other women around me and my clients as well.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for doing that. And that's why, even now with this conversation, okay, I might not be 40 plus at the moment, but this is the whole reason why we're having these conversations, because awareness is key. And why does it always have to be we get to that point where it's like, okay, what's happening, and then learn? Like, thank goodness, you took that initiative to really dive into it, and now you're being a guide, whatever we want to call it, for other women. And that's why I really wanted to connect with you, because not just knowledge is key, but also just awareness, implementation. Even I'm sure that there's things that because also, as we know with age, it's not always like, okay, there is that particular age. We're all very different. We all started our periods very differently. We all hit menopause very differently. So I'm guessing these are also things that contribute towards it.
It is. It's that second phase of our fluctuating hormones. So like that, I say, we had it during our teenage years. Anywhere from 10, 11 up to 18, 19, we would have been fluctuating with our hormones. And then it starts again. And for some women, that could be their 40s, mid 40s. And then for others, it could be their 20s and 30s. It can be quite young in some women, and we tend to follow our mothers and our grandmothers. So it's worth having that conversation to ask them when they notice. And like that, it's just building our own awareness. And
Yeah.
the more that we have, and we can educate ourselves about changes that will happen in the body. And it's not always, we hear the horror stories, we tend to focus on the people that have a very bad experience.
Yeah.
Or really, 75% of women have a good experience or a relatively mild experience.
Well, thank you so much for highlighting that as well, because yeah, it's super important that we actually, address both, because I think often, again, there's awareness and then there's like an assumption, whereas, actually no, just again, it's almost back to that internal, isn't it, of it goes back to you. And if you've just dramatically changed your diet or you stopped doing something, it's very easy almost to, oh, that's why, where actually we do need to take responsibility also.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to be careful of restriction. I say, I've done all of that in my 20s and 30s. I did the intermittent fasting, I did the 1200 calories, 800 calories, all of those things. And they can work as techniques and ways of managing your weight or managing your health when you're younger. But when we hit 35 to 40, that sort of restriction no longer serves us, because our body is looking for the nutrients, it's looking for that gut health support, and that can only come from variety and diversity. And it's managing our diet then in a slightly different way. It doesn't mean that we have to eat 2,500 calories or go from opposite, but it's just gently guiding and listening to our bodies, what our bodies need as well. And if we've been restricting carbs in the past as well, we might find then that our energy is more suffering as we get older. And gently reintroducing the right carbs then can better serve the body as well. So it's just paying more attention to the nutrients that we're taking in and being mindful then, if we notice a bit of restriction coming in, how is that actually serving us? I've had a lot of female clients, particularly over the summertime, where they have been on quite restrictive diets for a long time, and then they go on holidays and their body is reacting because they're eating different foods to what is in their normal restrictive diet. And it's just because their gut health has changed and it becomes very sensitive and reactive. And then we can start experiencing bloating for the first time, like that. The energy crashes, insomnia, and even changes in our mood can come from that as well.
Well, that, like, when you say it like that, it makes complete sense, but sometimes we don't think of it like that. But yeah, like, of course, if we're, holiday mode and all of a sudden, like, everything's getting ready for the holiday and then just enjoying, like, over enjoying, not saying that we shouldn't, but of course, your body's gonna be like, what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've all done it. I've done it as well, where we've overly restricted. We want to get into that bikini and look fabulous. And then, oh, we'll have a treat, we'll have the pizza, we'll have the spicy food, we'll have the alcohol. And then you're like, oh, feeling it in your stomach then the next day, feeling it in your digestive system. And that can be relatively mild for some women, and then it can be quite extreme. Like I say, I've had women contact me and they've literally been bedridden for 2 weeks after the holiday, because it's been such a contrast. And the thing is, as I say, with our gut health, when we're nurturing that all the time, all year round, we don't have that contrast. And it's about building the microbiome, so that balance of the good and bad bacteria. But when we perhaps are restricting ourselves, our bacteria are restricted as well. And then when we go on holiday, we're into different oils, different foods, different pesticides, different environmental factors. We're probably eating at different times a day. If you're going to Spain and Portugal, you might not be eating until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So everything is thrown out. And as I say, in our 20s and 30s, that doesn't bother us. Our gut and our metabolism is very resilient, and we just bounce off that. And then in our 40s, then we may then start feeling different reactions. And I say, it's just having that awareness. And the more we can tap in to listen to our bodies earlier, and really understand, because if we're suffering with bloating or fatigue or insomnia, that's a signal from our body that there's something not quite right
Yeah.
and we need to deal with it. But like many women, we push through, we're busy, we've lots going on, and it gets put to the end of a list. And,
Mm.
a lot of women, sometimes they come to me and they could be suffering for 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
And then they're going to their GP for help and they're being dismissed, or it's been just labeled as IBS and not really given the information or the support that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing obviously against it, but I would love your take on, because I know that it's becoming a lot more. I don't know if it's maybe because things aren't as fresh anymore, but there is a little bit of a like, just take a pill, and I'd love your take on that. Like, boom, that's okay, just take this pill and you'll feel better in an hour. But like, particularly for me, I'm very much someone who I want to know why my body's reacted like that. So I'm almost the opposite extreme where I don't take anything because I really want to be so connected to my body. But it's a shame that we're getting into this. There's a pill for everything now as well.
There is, yeah, and I can understand that. And even when I go into the health food shops and the supplement stores, I nearly want to buy everything as well,
Mm.
because it just looks so transformative, oh, just buy this supplement. And our friends and our family members tell us as well, I
Yeah.
got this supplement, it worked for me, you should try it as well, it's amazing. And it's not to say that some of those supplements can be very beneficial for a certain period of time, but we have to be very careful as well, because we can get into the perception, because we're buying it over the counter, it's okay to take them and take
Mm.
various ones as well. But they can get stored in the liver as well. So I love your approach to, no, let's step back here, actually understand what's going on in my body. And that's what I would always recommend, that. And then a food first approach.
Yeah,
Can we
yeah.
fix it? Can we tweak our nutrition like that? Are we getting enough fiber? Are we getting enough hydration? Are we, skipping meals? All of those things can actually make us feel worse. But there's so much noise out there about the supplement industry, and it's absolutely huge for women. It's gone
Yeah.
into the billions. I just saw, I didn't get a chance to read it, but there's an article in The Guardian today about it, that how women are being targeted with supplements. And I get friends, sending me pictures and saying, should I take this? And my first question is, well, why do you want to take it?
Mm, mm. And
And
how? And how are you going to take
how?
it?
Yeah,
Are you
exactly.
taking it to avoid having the vegetables, or are you taking, like it's yeah.
And like that, when you're changing your diet, if you have been quite restrictive and then you're trying to introduce new meals and so, sometimes I will say to people, take a supplement or a multivitamin, and that will help support you while you're making these changes.
Mm,
But we should always be evaluating them and not just taking them for years on end
yeah.
without actually asking, what are they doing for me, and am I actually taking um, a benefit? And most of the time, when I ask people that, they can't tell me if they notice any difference. So that
Yeah.
tells me then, it's either not doing enough, or it's just not the right supplement for them as well. We can get into
Mm,
that trap of, as I say, friends recommend things. We see ads on social media, we see it on the television, we go into the health food shop, there's recommendations from the staff there. And that's all great if it's for a purpose for a period of time. And
mm,
then we think about, do we still need to do that? And there are people out there and they don't have a taste for vegetables. And it's not that you can never have a taste, but if there is an issue, whether it's a texture or you have a complex relationship with food, then those products can support you if
mm.
needed. But I certainly would never ever advise anybody to go, get those supplements first.
Yeah.
And things like probiotics, like, they're fantastic products, but they can only work with the food that we're giving our body. So if we're
Mm.
still eating the pizzas and the kebabs and packets of crisps and biscuits, the probiotic can't support that. But
Yeah.
if we're having a lovely breakfast, our avocados and our eggs and our oats and smoothies and, really balanced meals, then your probiotic is going to be, a superpower for you and
Yeah.
really help that. But that's the way you have to build the foundation with working on the diet first. Yes, take a supplement if you need it, and then obviously be guided by a pharmacist or your GP or someone like myself that, you're not just taking things because, as they say, they can store in the liver,
Mm-mm.
and then that can lead to liver toxicity over time as well. So that can be quite dangerous. We have a perception with supplements that they're water soluble, but that only applies to a small amount of like the B vitamin types of supplements. A lot of the others are fat soluble, so they get stored in your liver and they can be stored there for years.
See, even just this, like, even people just listening to this, like, you go in, but not saying that everything needs like a to do instructions, but there isn't anything. You see the lovely advert, you see the smiley face, you see the healthy glowing, and you take the supplement. But again, what time, how,
Yes.
when,
Yes.
um, what with?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, you've brought up so many key things already. Thank you so much, Rachel. And as someone who has had to come to terms with intolerances and allergies,
Mm.
was very much in denial for a very, very long time, I completely understand and can relate to the energy spikes and also decreases.
Mm.
And even now, and I would love your take on this. I know, like, probably from your perspective, like, if I really delve into it and I have previously, because I think sometimes you need to see the shocking to really understand what you're doing to your body and not just know it's just bloating.
Yes.
Um, and although I've now come to terms with the dairy, which was really tricky, gluten still I know is like influctuating and it's the most oddest thing. Like I will go from like no, 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 make my own bread, everything. And it is becoming a lot, wider now. Like it's not like it's something that you can't get anymore.
No, yeah.
And I know like people get stuck on the price, but my body's worth the price. So I got over that. But I
Mm.
went through that whole thing of, oh, that's 55p and that's like £4. And, get over it. But it's just really interesting. I don't know why I feel like bringing this up, but when I do kind of go for that fresh bread roll in the bakery or something, and I'm like, no, I want to eat it. It's the weirdest thing. It's like something comes over my body and it's like, I want more. I want more. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is not normal. Because it's the oddest thing, because obviously I bloat straight away. So then I don't feel like
Mm.
eating, but then I just want to consume so much.
Yes.
And I guess that goes back to just really listening to your body. Like, is this a normal behavior right now? No.
No, but it is, and like, obviously to touch on the food intolerance testing, and that's a service that I offer to my clients. And I've had it done myself. My husband's had it done twice over the years as well. And it was the reason why we got into that, because my husband suffered with digestive issues for 10 years. And we were backwards and forwards to consultants in Ireland, in the UK, and just not really getting any definitive answers, or like that, as you said earlier, why it was happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did the food intolerance testing, and like that, he had gluten and dairy and some other foods that were coming up for him as well. And we worked to take them out of his diet, work to rebuild his gut health as well. So this is a piece then that's often missing around the food intolerance test,
Yeah.
because again, we can pay everything from £20 to £300-400.
Mm.
And the difference is then, the guidance, the quality of that test as well. The blood samples are always going to be better than the hair, the nails, the
Mm.
eye sort of test. So I'd always recommend a blood sample test, and to get the correct guidance afterwards, not just somebody giving you a report and saying,
Yes.
there you go.
And thank you so much for raising that awareness, because I remember doing it and seeing strawberries, all these random things come up, and just being like, can I eat anything? But someone that knows what they're reading, you're going to see it very different eyes of like, I don't know, but even like what you say, just the guidance. Whereas, yeah, I think just seeing it and almost having that like, oh, I just have to cut all this out. That's a big mental, and I know you talk a lot about mindset as well. It's a big thing for someone to take on, and then socially as well, all of a sudden people think, oh, just live a little and all these things come out, and oh, it's not gonna hurt you and all this, and there's so much about internally that people just, well, we can't see what's going on, and that is, I believe, when you really really do start respecting yourself and your body, actually, you'll be above, not above, but like these sayings and this social awkwardness, actually, when you really respect and value yourself, you just kind of let it go to the side anyway, because it's your body. You know how you're going to feel afterwards.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter about looking great. That's not, and that's what I
Yeah.
used to get for so many years. Like, oh, you look great. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, my brain's not functioning properly.
Yes.
I feel like externally, I feel like I can't fit in my clothes right now. And and I'm supposed to now just be having the time of my life.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, and I get that completely. And that comes up, like I have a new client now this week, and she has done a test twice with an alternative supplier. And I asked her, what changes have you made? And she's like, none, because I was so overwhelmed, I didn't know where to start.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is what I'm saying about that guidance. And that's how I work with my clients. We sit down, we talk about it, what the changes will mean, where the priorities are, if it's a very long list, because like that,
Mm,
we can't go from taking everything out of the diet.
yeah.
And then the really important thing is replacing those nutrients. And it is so much easier than even 5 years ago. The supermarkets are very supportive now. And yes, there
Mm-mm.
may be a bit of a premium price point, but it is getting better all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are different ways. And then I'll often give my clients a meal plan. So they're like, this is my old breakfast, this is my new breakfast, my old lunch, my
Mm,
new lunch, my dinners. And that helps with that overwhelm and the fatigue, and they know what to do. And
beautiful.
the feedback on that is just incredible. They're just like, if it hadn't been for that, I would not have known what to eat. And it does take a few weeks to settle in, but after that, then they feel so much better.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as you say, we have to think about how foods are made now. So those bread rolls that you can get in the bakeries or the supermarkets, the smell and everything is so delicious. And we have to think that they're designed for us to eat more of them.
Yeah, of course.
Food is designed. We'll see all the noise around ultra processed foods and how foods are made now, and they're designed, and they are physically designed for us to crave more and more of them. And
Mm,
that I have to be careful myself, because I know if I have one of those fabulous baguettes, the next day then I will struggle then to eat something healthier. And the reason for that is because it does encourage those bad bacteria, the sugar
mm,
loving, the carb loving, to dominate in the microbiome, and that can affect your taste buds and your cravings. And a lot of my clients that I work, they're always shocked when I say, when we focus on the new meals and the ways of eating, those cravings just go by themselves. And at
yeah,
the
yeah.
start, they never believe me. And then they're like, I cannot believe now I can walk past that table and work and not have to have the
Yeah.
sweet or the danishes that come out or the croissants. It doesn't control them anymore. And it's because
Yeah.
of that balance in the bacteria. So then when we start feeding the good bacteria, and it doesn't have to be all salads, but it's just the variety, the different foods, and then you dampen down those bad bacteria that are causing those cravings. And we tend to crave, like that, as I say, what we've eaten the day before. So if we have a nice, healthy, balanced meals today, it'll be so much easier tomorrow and then the next day.
Mm,
And
yeah.
what can throw us out of whack is, we're great with our eating Monday to Friday, and then the weekend's a free for all. You know,
Yeah.
we're having the cooked breakfast, we're having lunch out, and the chips and everything comes out, and that's fine. But if you have now 48 hours of eating completely different to during the week, it's going to be more of a struggle, and people will feel more tired. They will feel their energy, their uniform or their clothes on a Monday may feel tighter on them.
Mm-mm.
They don't feel as fresh and alert and, you know, dragging yourself through the week. And that's the reason why that happens.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And you raised a really important point, and I feel like this is almost a little bit of programming as well. Of, well, I don't want a salad, but no one said you had to have a salad. And actually, I'd love your take on this. But what I really realized, and I had the almost aha moment myself, and it was only because I moved to a country where basically I wasn't blessed with the, you know, the gluten-free aisle, the dairy-free aisle, and I was like, what am I going to eat? Like, I actually, out of this whole supermarket, I think there's 5 things. Well, obviously the fruit and veg. And I started, and okay, I used ChatGPT. I don't know why, because I just put in the ingredients, fresh ingredients, and I had this like aha moment where I went, oh, I can still eat what I want to eat. It's just I'm making it. And it really took me back to, I'm not saying that they didn't, but no wonder kind of the older generation didn't have this issue, because they made their bread, they cooked from scratch, you know, and they did a big pot of maybe something.
Yes.
So they knew exactly what was going in. And it was just such a moment where I just thought, wow, I had such this complex like idea that, oh, I cannot eat anything anymore. Shelley, you just made your own pizza, you just did it, and actually it wasn't a whole big massive thing. It was actually very quick and easy to do, and I felt fulfilled, and I felt like I'd enjoyed my meal.
Yeah.
And actually it was the whole process of it, and again, I know we're busy and things like that, but throwing things in, putting the timer on, rushing around, but there was something really beautiful about prepping and preparing and creating and then enjoying. And yeah, obviously I know times have changed and stuff, but even if that was like your weekend of like, actually, we're going to come together as a family, we're going to really make a beautiful meal together.
Yeah.
Because we think, you know, like there was a moment where I thought, oh, I can't have brownies anymore, I can't have this. No, I made it all. And I even gave it to my family, and they could, like, obviously they say it's different, but you can't really tell the difference. And then, you know, the typical eating the mixture, they were like, oh, you'll get a bad belly. I said, no, you won't, because there's actually there's no like dairy in it. So you can actually enjoy the mixture as well. So many bonuses.
No, and you're so right as well. Like I did a post about this on LinkedIn about acid reflux. And one of the traditional remedies would be to drink milk, you know, that our parents have passed down to us, or even from our grandparents and before. And drinking milk now doesn't work to fix acid reflux.
Mm-mm.
It makes it worse, like the proteins in it, and it can really aggravate for some people. But you have to think, like, you know, our grandparents, if they got acid reflux, it was probably an occasional condition that they had, and they'd have a glass of milk and that's fine. But if we have acid reflux every day and we're drinking milk every day to try and soothe it, we get the soothing for 5 minutes, and then actually that is making the stomach acid in your stomach worse. And it's just fueling, you're getting stuck into a vicious cycle. But as you're so right, like, you know, our parents, our grandparents would have cooked from scratch. They would have made their own meals. They would have batch cooked, frozen meals. Family members would have swapped meals between them as well. If anybody was, you know, working on the farms or in the factories, there would always be somebody providing meals, and all freshly cooked. And it would have been the centerpiece of the family to everybody contribute in some way, whether they're chopping vegetables, they're cooking, and it was a bit of a social interaction, particularly for the women in the families. Like, I love watching those programs of people like in the blue zones that live into their hundreds, and that's what you see. See the intergenerations in the kitchen together, the men are involved, the children are involved, and everybody's cooking and chatting and eating, and it's completely different. And there's nothing stopping us from bringing that back in. And so many children, I get asked about helping children as well. It's not really my area, but sometimes if I'm working with a client, I will help them with their children as well. And I always say to them, well, are the children involved in making the meals? And most times it's no. It's like, well, even if they don't like it, just getting them familiar, talking to them about why your meals are the way they are, why you're chopping the vegetables. You can buy children's knives, so it's very safe and they're not going to hurt themselves, and get them involved. And then their interest changed. They will get a sense of wanting to try it. One day they will just reach out and put some on their plate. And we need to move out. Like, I have other clients then where their parents were so zealous at them to eat vegetables, and they were tormenting them, and it was used as a threat, and you can't have dessert and you can't go out. And 10, 20, 30 years later, they're still having those that programming that was instilled back in when they were younger, and then they have difficulty as an adult trying to reframe that and recondition that thinking that it's okay to eat vegetables and it's okay to try them again and again. Like, we'll try very small techniques, and by the end of the program, they're eating salads, they're eating wraps, they're eating foods they never thought that they would eat. And because like that, their taste buds are adapting, and it can change within 2 weeks. It can be very quick for some people.
And ironically, it probably isn't even actually about the vegetables. It's actually, no, I'm an adult now and I do what I want on my terms, and it's funny that we have so many different layers to things, and it's often not even about what the actual thing is.
Absolutely, yeah.
And even like down to the way it's created. So, there's a difference kind of boiling a carrot in some water to like roasting it in there's different variations. We don't have to have the carrot one way and that's it.
Absolutely. And especially now with microwaves and air fryers, like, I always recommend people buy an air fryer. You don't need to have big fancy ovens, you don't need huge amounts of equipment. With microwaves and air fryers, you can have a meal on the table in less than 20 minutes. Like, you don't have to spend, if you don't want to chop the vegetables, you can buy them pre-chopped. You will pay a little bit of a premium, but that is available for you. The frozen vegetables are fantastic as well. Your frozen fruits, there is a lot that is there available to us as well if we want to. And then when we do have a little bit of time, then taking the time to experiment, and that can be the fun part of it. Absolutely. And getting the family around and everybody enjoying it. And if it's a disaster, it's a great story, and if it's fantastic, then you'll forever be remembered for it.
Exactly. And when you really think about it, that's what makes like Christmas and these special occasions so special. Like, we're not saying like a whole Christmas thing, but it is that coming together usually as a family. And it isn't like in 5 minutes. It's a whole process, and it's exciting, and the smell is in the house, and it's warming, and so it goes back to that intention again of like it's more like how it's carried out. And I love that you mentioned that. Thank you so much. I know there's so many ways people can reach out to you. If there's anything you would like to share, because I want to be mindful of your time, feel free to share anything right now. But don't worry about saying all the email addresses and that. I'll put all that in the description.
I can easily be reached on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. It's just under Rachel Crowder Nutrition, and there's the website and my email address, and I'll share all the links as well. And if anybody wants to chat about food intolerances or their energy, or even just getting more variety in your diet, because it's never too late as well. Even in our 40s, if we make improvements, we can add on an extra 10 quality years to our life as well. Wow. So it's never too late. And as I say, I've had clients in their 70s and 80s who have completely turned around their health very simply, very sustainably, and they're getting value then out of the years that are in their life as well, because sometimes, especially as women, we can write ourselves off and think, I have a condition or I have bloating and that's just the way it is, and something that we have to put up with. And that's just not true. We can always do something about it. And even if you are being dismissed by GPs and consultants, there's always another opinion and another option. And certainly the power of food, the power of social gatherings, and then the power then of looking after our gut health can completely transform us as well. And bringing back that reconnection with the body, listening to ourselves and responding with compassion instead of criticism as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for ending with that, because like what you said, going back to lots of points you made of the rapport of this, of that, it can be overwhelming. And even as I honestly admitted, there was a time where I would really punish myself and be very annoyed at myself for eating something that I knew was going to cause that. Whereas I'm like, no, I'm consciously choosing to eat this. So I'm not going to give myself a hard time when it happens. And I think that's really, really important. And I know it's not the same, but it made me think of like a kind of a smoke of where we're just like, well, why don't you give up? And it's like, actually, I never thought I had any addictions and things like that, but clearly this is something I'm still working through. So yeah, we just need to be really kind to ourselves and not have it like as a sneaking away and quickly, no, you want to eat that and you're not supposed to, or it's not going to be good in your body. Just actually enjoy it, and just know that there will come a time where you will be ready and you, yeah.
And I always say there's always room for balance as well.
Yeah.
I always take the 80-20%, and I tell people, plan your treats in, plan, your meals out, your glasses of wine, your cocktails, whatever you do. It doesn't mean that we have to be very restrictive, and people are often shocked by that. But when we give ourselves permission to enjoy it, sit down, savor that chocolate bar, savor that cake, whatever you're going to have, instead of, as you say, eating it mindlessly and not even, acknowledging that we've had it, that's completely different. But it's just so empowering when we give ourselves permission to enjoy our food and look after our bodies as well. We can do the same at the same time.
Absolutely, you're amazing. I really, 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 really have appreciated this conversation. I know so many they'll get so many gems from it. Just finally, before you go, if there was something, it doesn't have to be related to what we spoke about, but if there was something right now someone listening would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to reach out and ask the question. We always have something going on in our bodies, and we're wondering, should I get it checked out? How long should I tolerate something going on in our body? And earlier is always going to be better. And as I say, don't let anybody, if you're concerned about what's going on in your body, whether it's bloating, energy, sleep, or anything like that, always ask the question and don't let anybody dismiss you.
Wise words. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Shel Marie. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.